Good morning, students. Please turn on your videos. So here 68 members are present out of 170 around. Strength. Still people are joining. Right, let the people join in the meanwhile. So as of now, I'm muting you all. So if at all you have a doubt to answer, you can raise your hand so that I will unmute you and you can talk to me. So as of now, I'm muting all participants. So I'm sorry, yesterday I could not take the class because of the internet issue at the college. So I struggled a lot for connectivity issue over the internet. So because of that, I could not take the class as there is no sufficient data balance in my mobile phone also. Anyways, no problem. So we will see the system architecture and basics of the global positioning system today. So before we go that, let us have a quick revision of the previous class, what we have learned. So that is, we have been started off with the navigation systems, the age-old navigation systems to the current navigation systems. So we have defined the navigation as the process of locating or tracking an object, locating and tracking an object. So if it is at the stationary, we have to locate it. If it is a non-stationary or moving object, then we have to track that object. So the entire subject objective is mainly concentrated around the process of navigation. Is that clear? So what are the fundamental navigation techniques that are available in the literature that we learned in our previous class? You can type in the chat box, anybody, as per your memory. Just hold for a moment, the light is disturbing. Yes, I want the responses from you guys. 78 members are present in the class. I am waiting for your response. We have already seen the 5 techniques, right? Yes, the first one is the pilotage, date reckoning, celestial navigation, radio navigation, and the 5th one is the inertial navigation. And in our subject, we are learning about the radio navigation technique, where radio frequency signals are used for the navigation purpose. So as a revision, let us go through the previous class for a moment. Right. So there are 5 basic forms of navigation. The first one is pilotage, so which essentially relies on the recognizing the landmarks, to know where you are present, or where the object is present, or where it is, how it is oriented. The second one is the date reckoning, which relies upon knowing where you started from, that is position from where you started, and some form of the your direction, in which direction you are headed and in which direction you are moving, and an estimate of at what speed you are moving, at what speed the object or person is moving. And thirdly, the celestial navigation, which uses the some celestial, well-known celestial objects with respect to the sun, moon, or planets. So at what angle the object is oriented, so that we could know the latitudes and longitudes of the object. And fourth one is the radio navigation. It relies on the radio frequency sources with a known location. So known location could be a satellite, a deployed satellite, artificially deployed satellite, or a existing satellite. And we should know the location. We should know the location of the satellite. Then we could estimate the object and object's position, and also we can track the object. And finally, the inertial navigation. So among the 5 techniques, this technique will not use any reference. Will not use any reference. It relies on knowing the initial position, velocity, and attitude, and thereafter measuring your attitude rates and accelerations. So attitude rates means at what velocity you are changing your direction, at what acceleration you are changing your direction, or at what times you are changing your acceleration. So, and this form will never use any references. And among the 5, our subject is majorly concentrating on the 4th technique, that is the radio navigation. That is called as the radio navigation. So what is radio navigation? The radio navigation technique will use the radio frequency signals. Radio frequency signals. Of course, the radio frequency signals will include certain high frequency bands, and along with that, we will be using those signals by transmitting and receiving the signals from the satellites, and we use some effect that is called as Doppler effect that we learned in our previous classes, all the details. So using that, we will be able to estimate this thing. So coming to the GNSS overview. So what is GNSS? So GNSS is Global Navigation Satellite Systems. Global Navigation Satellite Systems, GNSS. So as we are concentrating on the technique 4, so we have to know what the process is going on. So the process here will use the radio frequency signals. We will send the radio frequency signals with certain frequency with the help of some carrier signals, and the objects will be receiving them, and time will be calculated. So depending on that, we are going to track or navigate the objects. So that is, we'll see in detail in our future units, but no problem. So as of now, we learn the basic things. So what are the GNSS satellites? So GNSS is Global Navigation Satellite Systems. So there are 3 things. One is the GPS, second is the GLONASS, and third one is the Galileo. The difference between 3 is their inventors. GPS is USA, GLONASS is or Russia, and Galileo is by Japan. So these are the three techniques. They have their own signals to be used. They have their own orbits, and they have their own signal frequencies, and they have their own modulation frequencies, and they have their own orbital periods. So these are all the terminology. You try to use this terminology, new terminology, whenever you hear a new terminology, try to use them most frequently. Okay, are you there? Right. So first one is the GPS, Global Positioning System. It is a part of satellite-based navigation system and developed by the Department of Defense. DOD, it is in short form, it is called as the Department of Defense of US under its Navstar satellite program. So please remember the history of this. So GPS is developed by the Department of Defense USA under one of its program called as the Navstar satellite program. Navstar satellite program. So what a GNSS system is consisting of? What are the major subparts or major blocks of the GNSS system? It will have certain satellites. So definitely what we need is the presence of the satellites, artificially sent satellites, always to find out or track the location of an object. And this is GPS, Galileo and GLONASS differ in how many number of satellites are present and how many orbits are present and how many at what angle they are oriented. That all those things we will see in detail. So the GPS includes 24 satellites, or sometimes some more satellites also present. In 2006 March, 28 satellites they have used. So the GPS system, there are 24 satellites which will be continuously monitoring the Earth, Earth's surface. So any part of the Earth's surface can be continuously tracked with the help of these 24 satellites. So they are uniformly dispersed around the 6 circular orbits. This is very, very important. They are uniformly dispersed around the 6 circular orbits. In each orbit, there are around 4 satellites each. So you can imagine the solar system. So in the solar system, around the sun, the 9 planets will revolve, which you might have already learned in our high school geography level. So here, the GPS system will use 24 satellites, which will be revolving around the Earth in 6 orbits. In 6, the orbit shape is circular. In 6 orbits, in each orbit, so that is 6 into 4 is equal to 24. 6 into 4 is equal to 24. If you are using 28, there may be, in some of the satellites, there may be one satellite may increase. So this is the first and foremost information to be noted about the GPS system. So GPS system will consist of 24 satellites, which are rotating around the Earth in circular orbits. They are 6 in number, and in each orbit there are 4 satellites present. So 6 into 4 is equal to 24 satellites. So when these 24 satellites are revolving continuously around the Earth, that is sufficient for the tracking of any object present on the Earth. That is the first point. And second point is, the orbits are inclined at an angle of 55 degrees related to the equator. So equator, you know very well. Equator is a imaginary line down on the Earth's surface. From that, we will differentiate the Earth into 2 hemispheres. One is the southern hemisphere and another one is the northern hemisphere. So from equator, each of these satellites is inclined at an angle of 55 degrees. At an angle of 55 degrees and are separated from each other. By multiples of the 60-degree right ascension. So what is this? So from the equator, when you measure from the equator, each of the satellite is 55 degrees inclination. And in between each satellite, there is a 60 degrees angle of inclination. There is a 60 degrees angle of inclination in ascending order. Ascension means the ascending order. In right ascension means it is right side. This is the second point to understand. And the third one is these orbits are non-geostationary. These orbits are non-geostationary. So what do you mean by geostationary? Anybody? Anybody in the class? What do you mean by geostationary satellites? Or you are listening to the class or just sleeping? I want the response, guys. So geostationary means okay. So it is geostationary means for the satellite to rotate around the Earth and for the Earth to revolve around itself, it takes the same time. It takes the same time. So to revolve around the Earth for itself, it takes roughly around 24 hours. And for one rotation of the satellite around the Earth, if it takes 24 hours, then that satellite seems to be a stationary object with respect to the Earth. That is called as the geostationary. And here the GPS orbits are not geostationary. They are non-geostationary. They are non-geostationary orbits and they are not circular. They are approximately circular. They are not elliptical. They are not circular. They are approximately circular. And what is the radius of that? It is 26,560 kilometers. The radius of each satellite from the Earth surface is 26,560 kilometers, and the orbital period. So orbital period means what? The period of rotation of each orbit. For one rotation, it takes certain time. That time is called as the orbital period, and that is equal to 11.967 hours. That is equal to 11.967 hours, and that is approximately half of one sidereal day. That is approximately half of one sidereal day. So what is sidereal day? Sidereal day is nothing but the time taken for the Earth to revolve around itself. That is exactly 24 hours, 56 minutes, 4 seconds. Of course, this we know already from our high school geographical facts. So for the rotation of each satellite in the GPS system, it will take half of the sidereal day. That is around 11.967 hours. This is the next point. Then one more point is there are 3 or more satellites will always be visible from the most points on the Earth's surface, and 4 or more GPS satellites can be used to determine an observer's position anywhere on the Earth's surface 24 hours per day. So all the 24 satellites are not used for the navigation purpose. It is enough if 3 satellites will track or will observe a position. So this topic we will discuss in the next class, that is called as trilateration technique that we will learn. So as of now, 3 are enough. 3 or more GPS satellites will always be visible from the most points on the Earth's surface. So if you sit anywhere on the Earth, any object on the Earth, it could able to see 3 or more satellites, and 4 or more GPS satellites can be used to determine an observer's position anywhere on the Earth's surface 24 hours per day. So this is next information regarding the GPS orbits. Then coming to the GPS signals. So first we have seen GPS orbits. Next is GPS signals. So what kind of signals are being transmitted by the satellites, received by the satellites, and what kind of modulations are used, and what kind of the carriers are used, what is the carrier frequency, all those things we will be learning in the GPS signals. So in detail study of this GPS signals is present in our unit 2 actually, but here a glimpse of that is given to us. So each GPS satellite carries a cesium and or rubidium atomic clock to provide the timing information for the signals transmitted by these satellites. So what is the time now on the Earth's surface? What is the time now? So on the Earth's surface, the time now is around 11:54 a.m. It is around 11:54 a.m. So this is calculated with respect to the revolution of the earth around itself. But when the satellite is present in the space, then the normal timing calculations are not sufficient. We'll use the satellite times. And for that purpose, we use the atomic clock, and that is made up of cesium or rubidium metals. They are made up of the rubidium or cesium metals for the signals transmitted by the satellites. So reference, here reference is the earth rotation for us, but signals in the satellite, in the space, there is no reference. To calculate the exact time or the relative time of each satellite transmission time and reception time, then we will use the atomic clocks. So the internal clock correction is provided for the each satellite clock. Even there may be some correction required. For that purpose, internal clock correction is provided for the each satellite clock. And the signals that are used are, the GPS satellite transmits two spread spectrum L-band carrier signals. There are two spread spectrum L-band carrier signals. Of course, these bands you might have already learned in your micro engineering. L-band, K-band, KU band. Say yes or no? Hello? Have you learned this in somewhere, in some subject? Okay, good. You already learned, good. So this is L-band signals are used for the GPS satellites. So it uses the two carrier frequencies. Why it is, I'll answer it later. So one carrier frequency is called as L1 signal, and it is having with a carrier frequency of 1575.42 megahertz. These numerics are very, very important. Please remember them. And the second signal is called L2 signal, and it has a carrier frequency of 1227.63 megahertz. So this is, of course, the megahertz frequency. I think 1.575 gigahertz it will be. 1.227 gigahertz if you convert it to the megahertz. And these two frequencies are integral multiples of F0. F0 is the base frequency. F0 is the base frequency. It is 1.023 megahertz. F1 is equal to 1540 into F0, and F2 is equal to 1200 into F0. And this base frequency is the F0, which is equal to 1.023 megahertz. So how many GPS signals are used? There are two GPS signals are used. One is the L1 signal and another one is the L2 signal. So what is the L1 signal carrier frequency? That is 1575.42 megahertz, and L2 signal carrier frequency is 1227.63 megahertz. So they are calculated with respect to the base frequency F0. So F1 is equal to 1540 into F0, and F2 is equal to 1200 into F0. So this is to be noted. The L1 signal from each satellite uses what kind of modulation technique? Because we are sending the baseband signal along with the help of some carrier signal. And the modulation technique used here is the BPSK. Of course, you might already learned in your digital communication subject, binary phase shift key. It is a digital communication technique, BPSK. And this is not just BPSK signal, it is modulated by a PRN code. PRN code stands for pseudo-random noise. Pseudo-random noise codes. So again, pseudo-random noise codes will have two things. One is the C by A code, and another one is the P code. So C by A code will be in phase, and P code will be in the quadrature phase. So this BPSK signal again modulated by a pseudo-random noise code. This is very, very important that we are going to learn in our unit 2. And the L2 signal from each satellite is BPSK, modulated only by the P code. Modulated only by the P code. This is the difference between the L1 signal and L2 signal. So L1 signal is modulated by C by A code and P code, and L2 signal is modulated by only P code, and both will use the BPSK for the basic modulation technique. Next, so why we are using the two signals L1 and L2 is, this is the compensation for the propagation delay. This is for the compensation for the propagation delays, because the delay varies approximately as the inverse square of the signal frequency f. That is, delay is inversely proportional to the f square. As delay is inversely proportional to f square, the measurable differential delay between the two carrier frequencies can be used to compensate for the delay in the each carrier. So what we generally do is we will estimate the differential delay. When we are not able to estimate exactly a quantity, then what we will take is the differentiation of that quantity. So here we will estimate the differential delay between the two signals, and then we could able to estimate the exact delay have occurred in transmission of the signals, right? Then the multiplexing techniques, because there we are using so many signals, 24 satellites we are using, and 24 satellites, each one of them will transmit so many signals repetitively, because the entire earth is to be covered. So they, for that purpose, it is using the code division multiplex. TDM, FDM are not sufficient. So knowledge of the pseudo-random noise codes allows users independent access to the multiple GPS satellite signals on the same carrier frequency. So the users means the engineers, of course, most probably normal people or laymen cannot read the GPS signals. So we have to have a knowledge of the pseudo-random noise codes. The signal transmitted by a particular GPS satellite can be selected by generating and matching, correlating the PRN code for that particular satellite. So this point is very, very important. When a signal is randomly received by a satellite, received by an object, by a receiver which is located on the Earth surface from certain satellite, how it detects what signal was transmitted. That is, by what it does first is it selects by generating and matching a PRN code already existing with this. There is a pseudo-random noise code already existing with the receiver, and this will correlate and match with the received signal. Then it will able to understand what kind of signal is transmitted. That is the process involved, right? In detail, we will learn in future. So all these pseudo-random noise codes are known and are generated or stored in the GPS satellite signal receivers carried by the ground observers. So where these PRN codes are present? These PRN codes are present in the observers, ground observers, because those are the people, that is the machine, that is the receiver which will receive the signal from the satellites. So it should be able to detect what kind of signal was transmitted. So for that purpose, it is present in the GPS receiver, not in the transmitter. So what is the first PRN code? The first PRN code for each GPS satellites is referred to as the precision code or P code. So this is the first one, precision code or P code. It is relatively a long, fine-grained code having an associated clock rate or chip rate of 10 into F0. So F0 is the base frequency, 10 times of the F0, that is around 10.23 megahertz. So how we will calculate that, we will see in detail in our unit 2. Just now remember is, it is using a P code as the base code, the fundamental code, which is having a frequency of 10.23 megahertz, that is equal to 10 times of the base frequency. As of now, this is enough. And the second PRN code for each GPS satellite, sometimes referred to as the course acquisition code. So we have already seen one code is the CYA code. CYA code means course acquisition code, and another code is the P code. And it is intended to facilitate rapid satellite signal acquisition and handover to the P code. So it is intended to facilitate the rapid satellite signal acquisition. So satellite signals are very randomly transmitted by the satellites. Then the receiver has to be ready to receive the each signal transmitted. So it is acting like a moderator between the transmitter and actual receiver that will hand over it to the finally P code. So it is relatively short, coarser grained, having an associated clock rate or chip rate of 1.023 megahertz. The earlier one is having 10.23 and this is having 1.023 megahertz. Remember this. This is very, very important. That is equal to F0. The CPA code, that is course acquisition code for any GPS satellite, has a length of 1023 chips or time increments before it repeats. So this is one important point to note. So it has 1023 chips or time increments before it repeats. So one C by A code used means there the process not ends. It may be repeatedly has to be sent. It may be repeatedly has to be sent. So from one arrival of a C by code to the next arrival of a C by code, how many chips are present? That is around 1023 chips are present. One chip is equal to one time increment. How much time it has to wait is up to its frequency, that is 1023. And next point is the full P code has a length of 259 days. It is very, very longer duration, during which each satellite transmit a unique portion of the full P code. CYA code is having very short duration, but whereas P code is having 259 days. And the portion of the P code used for a given GPS satellite has a length of precisely 1 week. That is around 7 days before this P code portion repeats. The chip rate between one P code to another P code is around 7 days. For that, it is 1023 chips or time increments for the C by code. The next signal is navigation signal. Till now, what we learned is the basic signals, L1 signal and L2 signal. And now we are going to learn about the navigation signals. So what is a navigation signal? It is the actual signal that is used for the navigation purpose. So GPS satellite bit stream includes navigational information on the ephemeris of the transmitting GPS satellite and an almanac for all GPS satellites with parameters providing approximate corrections for ionospheric signal propagation delays suitable for single frequency receivers and for an offset time between the satellite clock time and true GPS time. Oh, that is so much. Of course, these all things we will learn in our unit 3, don't worry. Each navigation message is having a frame format. It is consisting of ephemeris data, it is consisting of almanac, it is also consisting of the clock time. So what is ephemeris data? What is ionospheric, almanac is in the process of estimation of the distance of a satellite, there may be some errors. One kind of error is maybe ionospheric error, or it may be a tropospheric error. So what is this tropospheric error? Ionospheric error is, it is while the signal is transmitting, we may not expect always the vacuum is free so that the signal reaches every time in the same time. There may be some dispersions, there may be some refractions, there may be some waiting time associated with each signal every time it transmitted. So due to that, there are so many errors, that is like tropospheric error, ionospheric error, or clock time error. There is separate unit is there, for unit 3 I think, on the GPS errors or data errors. We'll learn all those things there. And for this purpose, we have to use the navigation signal. And this navigation information is transmitted at a rate of 50 bahts. Of course, you know 50 bahts. So whenever it is a digital signal, the rate of transmission is measured in the bahts. Okay. So selective availability, says questioning server, standard questioning server, standard questioning server, cloners. Okay, we'll complete this. We have more, how much time? 12:08. We have more 12 minutes of time. And this SA is very, very a funny thing, selective availability. It was developed by again US Department of Defense. It is deliberately derating the accuracy of the GPS for non-authorized users during the periods of the perceived threat. See, this is a universal space, right? In the universal space, so many signals are being transmitted by the satellites and so many signals are being received by the satellites. And each one can be understood by the receiver by correlating it to the existing P codes. Now, the thing is, if any unauthorized user is using this spectrum of the US method, exactly, it is intended for the US defense. If any unauthorized signal enters that, then it has provided a derating mechanism. It has provided a derating mechanism that is nothing but the selective availability. That measures include pseudo-random time dithering and a truncation of the transmitted ephemerides. So about this, we'll learn in our unit 4, no problem. Ephemerides means it is a kind of error. And the initial satellite configuration used selective availability with pseudo-random dithering of the onboard time reference only. But this was discontinued on May 1st, 2000. Of course, this was developed by US Department of Defense, but later on so many countries, have fought with that because our signals are being getting damaged because you are derating it. So that it has stopped that selective availability technique in the year 2000. Next, PPS, precise positioning service. So it is proprietary service. PPS is the full accuracy single receiver GPS positioning service provided to the United States and its allied military organizations and other selected agencies. This service includes access to the unencrypted P code and the removal of any SA effect. Just now we talked about the selective availability. So if there is any encrypted P code is there, means this will provide the PPS service will provide the access to that and it will remove the selective availability effects. Next, standard positioning service without SA. So this provides GPS single receiver positioning service to any user on a continuous worldwide basis. So it is not restricted to only VS, to any user on a continuous worldwide basis. And SPS is intended to provide the access only to the C/A code and the L1 carrier. Remember this point. And finally, standard positioning service with SA. So the horizontal accuracy as degraded by the selective availability is currently advertised as the 100 meters. So what this point is to understand, there is some object, that object is navigated or it is located, say let us say it is at this much of latitude and this much of longitude. And there is some error in that. There is some error in that. There may be vertical error or there may be a horizontal error. Horizontally, how much inaccurate it is? It is around 100 meters. It is around 100 meters. And the vertical inaccuracy is around 156 meters. And the time accuracy is around 334 nanoseconds. So all at the probability of 95%. So what is the purpose of this SPS? The SPS guarantees the user specified levels of coverage, availability and reliability. Coverage means whether the object is covered or not. Availability means whether the satellites are available to that, and reliability means how much reliable the data sent by the satellite is. That is called the reliability. This SPS will guarantee all these things with respect to a GPS navigation system. And second one is GLONASS. About the GLONASS we will learn in our next class as the time has come to an end. Any doubts in the class? Till now what we learned? So today what we learned is, I will summarize within 5 minutes. We are learning about the GPS, which is one of the GNSS satellite. GNSS stands for Global Navigation Satellite System. So there are 3 GNSSs. What are they? One is the GPS, second one is the GLONASS, third one is the Galileo. About GLONASS, Galileo we will learn in our next class. So what GPS is? It is a Department of Defense America. It will have certain orbits, it will have certain signals, it will have certain propagation delay compensation techniques, and it will use some of the multiplexing techniques, and it has another navigation signal and associated errors correction purpose. Selective availability is used, and for providing the service to the DOT, precise positioning service, standard positioning service without SA, and standard positioning service with SA. These are the 3 service providing techniques used by the GPS navigation technique. Any doubts? So in the meanwhile, today I will email the textbooks that I promised to you. So please start preparing because we have very less time given for this semester. Because due to this pandemic situation, you have to complete, you have to get your degrees on time. We have already started too late. That's why university has scheduled the time very little. Any doubts, guys? Please turn on your videos. Are you present in the class virtually or physically? All of you have turned off your videos. Naidruva is present. Only Naidruva. Remaining G7, 16, F7, C3, G1. Any doubts in the class? If there are no doubts, I will wind up the class for today. Right? Okay, it is 12:15. Somebody is chatting. No doubts. Yes, sir. Sir, how L2 signal is marketed in GPS signal? BPSK, binary phase shift key, both uses BPSK only. Right, thank you for today. I'm ending the class.